Welcome back to the Good Days channel. You know I'm the science guy, so today won't be a food recipe. We're going to talk about weather and migraine, and I'm going to review a few apps. So as you know, migraine is a very prevalent condition. About 1% out of 7 suffers from it in the world, and this is regardless of where they live. It's about 2 women for 1 man, and again, in any country, we tend to have the same prevalence. Weather conditions are not the same everywhere though. Today I'm going to focus on Japan, because Japan is a relatively small country in size, and it has big weather swings over the year. They have hot to very hot and humid summers, and they have moderate to cold winters. And on top of this, they are very often hit by typhoons and cyclones. So I'm going to review 4 apps, and our location for reviewing will be Tokyo, Japan. And at the end, I will give you my ranking for these apps. AccuWeather. I've put my glasses on. Let's review the website. It pioneered migraine-specific weather forecast. Let's see what it tells about Tokyo for today and the coming days. What I really like about it is it's straight to the point. It gives you a weather migraine risk for today and for up to 12 days for free. This is great. From what I understand, the risk level goes from 0 to 10, very clear. For Tokyo in the foreseeable future, the risk level is either 0, 1 or 2. So 0 means weather conditions create a lowered risk of a migraine headache and will help to make a headache less severe and of shorter duration. Okay. 1 means, well, exactly the same description. And 2 means the weather will not significantly impact the risk of a migraine headache, nor its severity or duration. So what I don't like about this is that there is no clue of how this risk level has been calculated. I've searched their website, I googled it, I found nothing. And there is no source behind the claim that weather conditions create a lower risk of a migraine headache and will help to make a headache less severe of a shorter duration. You either believe in it or you leave it. Well, unfortunately, without any proof, I have no reason to believe that this information has solid scientific background. So for me, it's a no-go. So to summarize, I like that it's easy to use, and I like the 12-day free forecast. And I don't like that there's no visibility on how it works, no explanation on risk level differences 0 to 1, and no source on how weather may decrease or raise the risk of having an attack, its severity and duration. ZooTool. ZooTool is a Japanese smartphone app and website that is only dedicated to Japan at the moment. They used to have an international application, but it's been recently discontinued. Let's have a look at the website. So you have a map of Japan with the weather forecast for today, tomorrow, and the day after tomorrow. For each day, you have weather forecast summary, temperature, wind, humidity level, and you also have the migraine risk. There again, different levels of risk with a color code and an icon from light blue, minimal risk, to red bomb, maximum risk. You have it here in the South Coast. It's only a 3-day forecast, but it is very detailed, hour by hour. So for instance, in Tokyo, today and tomorrow are minimal risk. It changes to green at 2 AM the day after tomorrow, orange at 9 AM, and finally red at 9 PM. The forecast is only 3 days, but granularity is much higher and it provides much more information as well than AccuWeather. I like the user experience as well. Unfortunately, just like AccuWeather, it's a black box. We kind of intuit that the forecast is a function of atmospheric pressure variations, temperature volatility and humidity level, but that's it. No explanation. And actually I asked a Japanese-speaking person. Well, that's not enough for me. No go. To summarize, I like that it's easy to use, the 3-day hourly forecast, the user experience. And I don't like that there's no visibility on how it works, no scientific evidence on the risk level rating, and it's in Japanese only and in Japan only. The international version is no longer available. Migraine Buddy. Migraine Buddy is the app of choice when it comes to migraine tracking, with over 3 million users. It also has a number of resources related to weather. I like the fact that actual weather can directly be related to attack records. There is no bias, no assumption, no reporting issue. It is straight to the point, one-stop shop. There are only 2 days of forecast available, 7 days if you subscribe to MB+, the premium version of the app. You can see the 7-day forecast by scrolling down. You also have a similar forecast for humidity in the second tab, today and 7-day forecast. You have a daily color code, similar to Zootool. If you tap the 3 dots icon, you see you can choose your location. Since it's Google Maps, you can pin your location or type it. I chose Tokyo, Japan. You can also choose your unit of measure, and you can also set a daily notification to remind you to check the weather feature, the weather forecast feature, at a fixed time every day. In About, you have the explanations for the daily color code. Well, there again, there is no scientific evidence to support the feature. It only talks about correlation. The red dot means 0.18 inches of mercury maximum pressure variation that day. For humidity forecast, the red dot is set at 80% humidity level. No explanations on the choice for these figures. But what's very unique in Migraine Buddy, providing you subscribe to the premium version, is the monthly weather report. Here is my report for August 2021. It is based on my attack records and the actual weather where I was that month. And why does this change everything? Well, for 2 reasons. The first one is that it's built on my actual records for the actual weather where I was when the attack started. And not only does it give me a sensitivity score, it is split between pressure, temperature, and humidity. And the second, and by far most important reason, is that it is relative. It scores my city within the country. I was in Le Mans in August 2021. Le Mans scored 85 out of 121 French cities in the ranking. Next, it tells me how I compare to others. And this is what really matters the most. We will see later that there is unfortunately no solid causality evidence, scientific causality evidence between weather and migraine. But here I am compared to everyone using the app in France in 1 month. And we are talking of thousands of people using the same app in the same conditions. And it tells me that I'm more sensitive, more weather sensitive than average that month. 4 days after the month has ended. This is amazing. It does not establish a causality link, but should there be one, I know how I compare to my peers. I know how my location compares to others, with no delay. This is the equivalent of the outcome of a scientific study in my mailbox, every month, on a much bigger population without protocol or reporting biases. If I participate to a real study, it will take months or years to get published, and I will never get access to my data and how I compare to the rest of the patients. This report is one of a kind. It's priceless. It opens the door to new horizons in scientific research, but I could not see publication about it so far. It also provides me with details of what I should focus on: temperature, humidity, and pressure. In my case, temperature means that I should beware of big switches in temperature, and I guess I should make use of aircon whenever possible. Aircon would also protect me from related risk of high humidity. With regards to pressure risk, there is not much we can do. In the app, the red days mean a variation of 0.18 inches of mercury or 6 hectopascal. As a rule of thumb, consider that 30 feet gain in altitude corresponds to 1 hectopascal drop in atmospheric pressure. You got the resources in description. This is about the height of 3 stories. So, in order to simulate a drop in pressure of 0.18 inches of mercury or 6 hectopascal, take a lift in a building and go up 6 times 3, 18 floors. If you do not immediately have migraine symptoms, it means that you're not highly sensitive to such fast pressure drop. Take the same lift down 18 floors. If nothing happens, it means that you're not sensitive to fast pressure increase of 0.18 inches of mercury. Last but not least, even though it's not reported by any of these apps, in case of high luminosity, wear UV protective sunglasses. To summarize, I like that it's one-stop shop, worldwide access, hourly 48-hour and 7-day forecast, and the monthly weather report for sensitivity assessment, including peer comparison, and detailed sensitivity assessment for pressure, temperature, and humidity. And I don't like that only 2-day forecast in the free version, no monthly weather report in the free version, and the lack of published scientific evidence for weather score so far. WeatherX Forecast. WeatherX Forecast is an app available for iPhones and Android phones. It has a very science geek outlook, so I have a positive bias towards it, I guess. The app is very simple. It is only based on atmospheric pressure variations. The rationale behind it is that it is meant to be used with the WeatherX earplugs. We will come back to this in a while. There are 4 tabs in the app. The home screen that displays the next 4 pressure variation episodes to focus on. In Settings, you can select your location. I selected Tokyo, Japan. The unit of measure, so if you are in the US you may prefer inches of mercury. I'm more familiar with hectopascal from the international system. The threshold is the default one. You may change it, but there is no explanation behind the choice. The shift can be set for increasing or decreasing. I like these options, they're great. It may go too far in the opposite direction of AccuWeather and ZooTool, where you cannot choose anything. But anyway. Here you can basically select whatever you want. The app suggests that you start with the default 0.09 inches of mercury value, and if you don't start an attack after you get notified of such change, you gradually go down until you find what they called your threshold. I would call this the sensitivity level. Unfortunately, it's not that simple, as we are constantly exposed to multiple risk factors, not only atmospheric variations. Although it is true that if I don't have migraine symptoms after such pressure variation, I'm definitely not highly sensitive to it. So let's have a look at the data. You have 2 graphs, one for the next 2 days and one for the next 5 days. On each graph, you have a pin each time you should receive notifications for forecast pressure change. What the app suggests when you get the notification is that you put on your WeatherX earplugs that you can purchase from the app. I like that you can customize everything. I like how precise it is. Let's have a look at the last tab to understand the rationale behind the app. First point, a change in barometric pressure is a common cause of migraines. Well, that's not a good start. The cause or causes of migraine remain unknown to science as of today, so correlation does not imply causation. That's called correlation fallacy. This is so disappointing for an app in which everything is designed to look very scientific. There are 3 quotes from 2 different sources. I like that. At least there is something we can refer to. Let's have a look at these sources. National Headache Foundation. Environmental and physical factors. It says that a change in barometric pressure can trigger a migraine attack. Fairly well. But there is no source that proves it. This is not the outcome of a scientific study. Beyond the argument of authority, there is no valid source. Let's have a look at the other source. Of the migraine patients in a study sensitive to weather, 25.6 were sensitive to barometric pressure. Okay, this is a scientific study. Here is the abstract. It's a study on 77 people suffering from migraine. On the one hand, they asked them whether they think they are weather sensitive, and on the other hand, they measure actual weather and compare it with their attacks. The factor 3 they follow represents barometric pressure. Results. Out of the 77 patients, only 10 out of 77, 12.9%, were found to be sensitive to barometric pressure. Well, that's half of the 25.6% reported in the quote. What's the point of citing scientific sources if you lie about them and it only takes a few minutes or maybe a few seconds to debunk it? Let's now see the next resource, the earplugs, as the app is a support to the specific WeatherX earplugs. The middle ear is extremely sensitive to pressure changes, and softening the shift in the middle ear may prevent a migraine. So let's have a look at the middle ear. The middle ear is filled with air. It is the red part on the drawing. It is just after the eardrum or tympanic membrane. The middle ear connects to the nose through the auditory tube. The auditory tube is always closed, except when we swallow or when we yawn. After this happens, the pressure is exactly the same outside the eardrum and inside the eardrum, except if you have an inflammation or an infection such as a cold or sinusitis that prevents the middle ear from being filled with air. So, in order to force the airflow in the middle ear, you can swallow or yawn, or simply pull your jaw backwards like this. When you do this, you hear a noise in both ears, and this is the auditory tube opening. So maybe, to the exception of extreme sensitivity, to pressure changes or to an ENT condition or infection, I do not see the point of using such earplugs. Let's have a look at the notification threshold. It is the barometric pressure shift that tends to trigger a headache event. Our default 0.2 inches of mercury exists as the baseline. Well. I'm afraid that this is not true, as the default setting in the app is not 0.2 inches of mercury but 0.09 inches of mercury. My feeling here is that 0.2 inches of mercury did not fire enough alerts and was not sufficiently encouraging the use of the earplugs. So the default level was decreased to 0.09 inches of mercury. When you guys do that, at least make sure that you do it consistently across the app. It's not so difficult. The app is pretty basic. There's not so many resources to check. Anyway, now you know how to check if you're not highly sensitive to 0.09 inches of mercury variation. Take a lift up 9 floors and then down 9 floors. If you're not, I'm quite doubtful about the need to use such earplugs at all. This kind of earplugs is usually used in scuba diving, when there can be dramatic pressure variations and differences between outside the eardrum and the middle ear, in which the pressure is set by your scuba gear. To summarize, I like its scientific look, that it's easy to use, its worldwide access, the hourly 48-hour to 5-day pressure forecast, the custom notifications of forecast pressure changes. And I don't like the correlation fallacy. I don't like the fact that their figures differ greatly from the source they quote. The decreased pressure value targeted to encourage the purchase of expensive earplugs, and the lack of scientific evidence that these earplugs could be of any use in most cases. What does science say? Not much, to be honest. There are 2 studies that show that atmospheric pressure and blood pressure tend to be negatively correlated. That means that when air pressure drops, blood pressure tends to increase. You have the links in the description. A Mayo Clinic blog article suggests that for some people, weather changes may cause imbalances in brain chemicals, including serotonin, which can prompt a migraine. Weather-related triggers also may worsen a headache caused by other triggers. I found one study that links environmental temperature and serotonin levels. And Hesslein mentions another small study in Japan suggesting an increase in migraine risk when pressure drops slightly. The others say that a drop in barometric pressure causes blood vessels in the brain to widen, which triggers the release of serotonin. As serotonin levels rise, they set off the visual phenomenon known as aura. When serotonin levels drop again, the blood vessels swell, which may trigger a migraine attack. You have the study in a link. Here is the abstract of the study. It's on 34 patients over 3 weeks. So it may very well be true, but the size of the study is very small to be able to conclude in any way. It quotes 4 other studies, none of which is very conclusive. Among them is the 77-patient study cited by WeatherX. I put all resources in the description. Last but not least, I would like to mention a book, Japanese book, called 12 Habits for Business People to Overcome Cyclone Upsets, released in 2021 by weather paint doctor Jun Sato from Aichi Medical University. You have the link in the description. Dr. Sato explained that the inner ear senses changes in atmospheric pressure. The inner ear is a general term for the semicircular canals, which are in the innermost parts of the ear. The barometric pressure sensor in the inner ear transmits changes to the brain, causing various symptoms such as migraine headaches and mental disorders, Dr. Sato says. Here you can see the inner ear drawn in purple color. And then he suggests that the round and round ear massage can help withstand inner ear issues related to changes in barometric pressure. You'll find the round and round ear massage here and also in the description. Weather and migraine apps ranking. I rank WeatherX Forecast as number 4. It is a nice app for a science geek like me, but let's face it, it is mostly a marketing tool to encourage you to buy expensive earplugs that are yet to prove their usefulness. The app and its fancy notifications are at best nice to have. I rank ZooTool number 3, mostly due to the fact that it's only available in Japan and in Japanese. I rank AccuWeather number 2, just because it's available everywhere, since I have no reason to believe that there is any solid background behind this than the daily horoscope. Finally, I rank Migraine Buddy first, mostly thanks to its monthly custom weather and migraine reports. As said, this is a game changer, something that had never been achieved so far, and it's been made possible because of the size of its user community. I think that this can also open new horizons to fundamental scientific research. I'm so looking forward to communications on this. You will find all the links in the description. Please let me know in the comments what you think and maybe other apps that you've tried and that I have not seen here. So do not hesitate to comment, to put a thumbs up if you like the video, to share it, to subscribe to the channel, activate the bell to get notified, and visit the gooddaysprogram.com website to know more about how to create good days. See you next time.